All right, good deal. Recorded progress. Okay, good evening. Good evening. You are listening to Impact, sponsored by the Florida Star, WCGL 94.7 FM. I'm your host, Neal. It's so great to be here with you once again on this beautiful evening, as I am each and every week. Guys, listen, I am so honored to be here with you as I am each and every week. We get a chance to bring some of the greatest information, just not just in our community, but around our community, around the city of Jacksonville, around the state of Florida, and even a lot of times the national picture. We get to highlight some of the organizations and individuals who are not only striving to make a difference, but people who are actually making a difference, people who we call impact makers, movers and shakers. So you guys know here at Impact, we like to feature those organizations, those individuals who are doing the biggest job and making the biggest impact. And so today's not going to be any different. I'm so excited about my guest that I have for today. Man, it's someone who I've heard a lot about, and I've done my little research on, and I can see that this discussion is going to be one for the ages. It's going to be one that we here at Impact are very excited about, but it's going to be one that I know is going to be impactful on the community. And it's none other than someone who I was introduced to, but I am so excited and so glad to introduce to you guys, to present to some, but introduce to others, none other than the Honorable Judge Terrinee Gundy. Miss Gundy, how you doing tonight?
Hey, Will, I'm so happy to be with you. I am overwhelmed with joy.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm so honored that you would even consider calling me an impact maker.
Man, well, I tell you this, it's just not my word, it's the actions and I guess the journey that you've been on, which makes what you're doing so worthy of celebration is in your life. So worthy of this highlight. And so we want to thank you for being available, for making the time to sit down and speak with us. We know with everything that you've got going on as a decision maker, as a professional decision maker, and also as a professional mover and shaker, I would say it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of time to do what you do. But just to get into what you do, I want to start off this discussion with talking about you and your background. Who is Terrinee Gundy? Where you from? Where'd you grow up? And how'd you come about on this journey?
So I am originally born and raised in Jacksonville, Florida.
Yes,
I am
ma'am.
a university hospital baby.
Come on.
Duval.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
From the north side, I spent most of my time on 8th and Myrtle. My father has a stand where we used to sell clothes, a tent. I think they call it outside vendors now. We just called it a tent.
Yes, ma'am.
Back in the day.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And so when my parents got divorced in the 6th grade, I was at Susie Talbert. I left and went to Atlanta, Georgia. From there, went to high school in South Georgia, a place called Tifton, Georgia.
Yes, ma'am.
And then I just ended up on the beautiful campus of Clark Atlanta University.
Yes, ma'am.
And it changed, my entire life, my entire trajectory. And I went on to law school at the University of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
So I became a lawyer in the state of Georgia, and now I am a judge for the city of Atlanta.
Wow. And you got, man, y'all listen. I've told a lot of stories here on Impact, and I've shared a lot of information about some great people. But this is a woman, an African-American woman from the city of Jacksonville, from the north side. Me, myself, Neal, also being the north side baby. It is
That's
so, right. Listen, y'all. It's so great to hear such a wonderful story. And she's kind of jumping ahead, but I'm going to back up just a tag because we're going to get into more of what you spoke of as far as your personal journey. But I got some specific questions that I want to ask pertaining more so to the beginning of your life. you know, being
Mhm.
being a North Side baby, right here from the North Side of the city of Jacksonville. Speak a little bit to how the young girl Terrinee's view is in terms of family, like your view on the term family based on your childhood experiences. What would you say to that?
So, as you know, my book came out today. It's called The Daughter of a Junkie, A True Love Story.
Yes,
And it
ma'am.
is about my father
Mm-hmm.
who has smoked crack cocaine for over 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah, right here, Northside 32209. And a lot of people hear The Daughter of the Junkie, but very few people pay attention to the byline, A True Love Story. And so you hit it on the nail. The book, yes, does talk about the chaos and the trauma of growing up as the child of an addict, but it also focuses primarily more so on the love and the connection of our family and how the rootedness in our family is actually what helped me along the journey.
Yes, ma'am.
Because my mother and my father loved me unconditionally, but they also believed in my ability unconditionally.
Wow. Wow. Man, that's amazing. That's amazing to hear. And it's crazy. I share that same story in my own life. And I know many of us can attest to, first of all, having imperfect parents. I mean, people say what they want to say, but our parents do the best that they can with what they were given. And so for what they had. And so it's like many times as you get older, as you grow, you know, you start to grow out of this sense of judgment toward the actions of your parents, because you realize, man, they were growing in as individuals into the people that they became, but they didn't always know exactly what to do in every situation. And so knowing that you were able to use your experience as a child and as your parents kid and having that experience and that foundation in family to move forward. And I remember reading through the synopsis of your book and seeing how you highlighted these areas of racism, the police and drugs and poverty as a child. If you could speak to I guess those idioms of racism, the police, drugs, and poverty, how would you say those four I guess ideas impacted how you thought if coming from your childhood?
I would say that they had a huge impact on me as a child in, I guess, shaping my fortitude.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
it didn't have an impact on who I thought I was as a person or where I was going, because again, my parents had put an undying confidence in me for my own ability.
Yes, ma'am.
And so my mother and my father made me believe at a very early age that despite racism, despite poverty, despite sexism, despite criminality, that I could go and be whatever I wanted.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I was their child and I was extraordinarily intelligent and I had a grit in me that they put in me to outwork anybody.
Yes, ma'am.
So basically, they raised me to always believe that it didn't matter where I started, as long as I could stay focused on where I wanted to be.
Come on, man. That is amazing. And y'all listen, she don't know, but she preaching a sermon right now, because those are some very inspirational words. And I just know I myself and so many other people can relate to the words that you're expressing and just the thoughts that you're expressing, because again, I can't say this enough many times, and I just hearing your words, I'm being encouraged and inspired, because we grow up seeing our parents' actions and not always knowing, well, why is my mom like this? Why is my dad like this? And again, we don't always know the backstory, and we don't always know what's really going on. And sometimes even when we see certain things as a child, as a young person, it's hard to really process a lot of that. And then seeing your parents still provide, seeing your parents still make a way for you, seeing your parents still allow you to have a certain level of living, whether you feel like it's top notch or whether you know what's really going on behind the scenes. Sometimes we have no idea, but also that speaking.
I had no idea that
yeah.
we were as poor as we were.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I didn't know. I didn't realize until I got older, you know, and I don't mean older as an adult. I mean older as a child.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, once things got really bad with the drugs.
Mm-hmm.
But before then, I had no idea how impoverished we were.
Yes, ma'am. Man.
Because of what you're saying, like just our parents' ability to make something out of nothing.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
It's not just that our parents do the best that they can. You also have to understand that when you grow up in a community such as the North Side, 32209, it's the poorest zip code in the state of Florida.
Man, yeah, and a lot of people don't know that. Especially a lot of us.
They don't know that.
A lot of us Jacksonville people.
When you grow up in a community, like it's not just on your parents that have a huge impact on you. Mm-hmm. We are, all of us.
Yes, ma'am.
Are doing more with less.
Yes, ma'am. You better know it. You better know it. Y'all listen, we are talking with the Terrinee. Am I saying it right? Let me make sure I'm pronouncing it.
You are Terrinee Gundy.
Terrinee Gundy. Y'all listen, I like to put respect on people's name and make sure I'm saying it correctly. But Terrinee Gundy, the Jacksonville native, the Honorable Judge Terrinee Gundy, she is here with us live on Impact. And I'm going to say this, and we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, I want us to talk about the college graduate, the first time college graduate who is known as Terrinee Gundy. And we're going to talk a little bit more about her experience at Clark Atlanta University. Okay, we are back here on Impact, sponsored by the Florida Star on WCGL 94.7 FM. And we are here with the Honorable Miss Judge Terrinee Gundy, and we started out this conversation talking about her experience as a young individual, as a young lady here in the city of Jacksonville, and her journey to what she says in her book, the Daughter of a Junkie, her journey through the ashes of her childhood.
Yes. A true love story.
A true love story.
A true love story. Out today.
Yes, ma'am. It's out. Y'all, let me not disrespect the entirety of that title. The Daughter of a Junkie, a true love story. This is a labor of love. And so I can't wait to read the book. Y'all, I looked at the synopsis, but I want to make sure that I'm able to read this book because this conversation has been so inspirational to me. But the second piece of what I wanted to get into is you being a family first-time college graduate. Talk about your experience at Clark Atlanta. What made you first of all want to attend a school like Clark Atlanta, and describe acclimating to this new environment amidst all the possible pressures back at home here in Jacksonville? Let's talk about that.
That's an excellent question. First and foremost, I didn't know anything about Clark Atlanta University until my senior year in high school. And I had decided to go to the University of Georgia. Mm-hmm. Again, I went to high school in South Georgia, this place called Tifton.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was going to the University of Georgia. Went to visit Clark Atlanta University for like a weekend experience. Mm-hmm. And instantly fell in love.
Wow.
This would have been probably in like April, and graduation is in June.
Right.
And it just every sense in my body was going off.
Wow.
I never felt so comfortable in my own skin in my entire life.
Wow.
And so I came home and I convinced my parents that I needed to change my mind or I would be a failure in life.
Wow.
Well, of course, I hadn't failed at anything, and they thought I was being a little dramatic. But my father,
understandable.
He would help me figure it out, and he did.
Wow.
What I would say, the part that I think is very interesting about your question is when you said the pressures of Jacksonville. I just would say it a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
I had survived the pressures of Jacksonville already.
Yes, ma'am.
And so by the time I got to college, I felt like Duval had prepared me for anything in front of me.
Wow. Yes, ma'am.
So there was no pressure to me.
Come on.
Because the hardest part to me was making it to college.
Man.
But once I got to college, nobody
was
going to get in my way.
You better know it.
Nobody would stop me. Like, I knew the day that I set foot at Clark Atlanta University, I knew I would become a lawyer.
Wow. 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 Man, that's amazing to hear. And that speaks to something that I'm glad that to hear you speak so affirmative in that way, because I know in my own exploits and in many of us who have conquered a lot in our own lives, sometimes we get to places to where we know what God is showing us in our hearts and in our minds. And it's important for us to share specifically with younger people that it's okay to know that you fought through everything that you really had to fight through. It's okay to know that where you're going is where you really want to be. And it's okay to stand firm in knowing that's where you are. And really, if anything, and from what I'm hearing from you, is that you were able to stand in that and to mentally be in that place. And it sounds like that's one of the biggest driving forces for you. And so you became a lawyer and then a judge. Talk to us a little bit about your professional journey from going from a lawyer to becoming a judge.
Yeah, well, at 7 years old, I decided I was going to become a lawyer. And then at 9 years old, I decided I was going to become a judge.
Yes, ma'am.
Simply because I thought someone in our community had been mistreated. Mm-hmm. And my father told me it was because the judge didn't look like us.
Wow.
And so he never had a fair shot.
Wow.
Again, at 9, I had no idea that the two professions were related.
Wow. Yeah.
And so for me, and I do, and I'm glad that you are speaking to the young people. And if there is anyone listening, I think it's very important for young people to realize that sometimes people like to use our upbringing from the North Side or 32209 against us. I think it's very important for them to realize that it's really just a tool and training that makes us better than everyone else.
Yes, ma'am.
Because we have gone through things and we know how to handle situations. We know how to handle defeat and keep going.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's really all life is.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
That is really what you're going to find when you go to college. That is what you find in your professional life.
Yep.
I found some challenges in my own professional life. And I was able to really dig deep into the lessons and the teachings that I got growing up on the north side of Duval to survive all of that.
Yes, ma'am.
Because we're all survivors.
Yep. You're right. You're right.
And that's how we push through.
Yes, ma'am.
So, but I do have to say that becoming a lawyer and a judge has always been a lifelong dream of mine. And I'm so thankful and grateful to still love doing that job every single day.
Wow. It's more of a calling, sounds like.
I didn't realize so much that it would be a calling. It's just, but yeah, it's my service. It's the debt that I'm paying back for all of the people who helped me get there. I didn't get there by myself.
Yes, ma'am.
And so we all have a debt to be paid, to mankind. And I think that this is my small part.
Man, that's amazing. Y'all listen, she's dropping some jewels today. And so I want to thank Miss Terrinee Gundy, Judge Terrinee Gundy. I believe in putting respect on people's accomplishments and who they are. And it's just for any of our young people or old or whoever you may see yourself as, I like to say the seasoned saints as well. It's just good to hear someone who is, first of all, from this area, but to know that your life has been one that you felt, your life has been one the way it has been, and then you felt I guess, the urge and committed to the desire to actually put it in a book. And so the journey that you've been on, the daughter of a junkie, the love story, y'all. This is she's taking her own personal journey and seeing the love of it all and how it shaped her as the woman who she is now. So we're going to take another quick break, but when we come back, I'm going to speak a little bit more in depth to who she is, not only as a judge, as a professional, but as a mom. So we're going to take another quick break and we will be right back. Okay, guys, so we are back here on Impact, sponsored by the Florida Star, WCGL 94.7 FM. I'm your host, Will Neal, and it's so great to be here with you as I am week in and week out. And so with the few minutes that we have left, guys, I want to, first of all, thank Miss Terrinee Gundy for allowing us to speak with her. She's on this big campaign to promote her book, The Daughter of a Junkie, the love story, guys. It's such a love story that we're seeing this thing to shape up to be. And as I stated earlier in our discussion, I'm looking forward to reading this book in its entirety. I am of the belief that great leaders are also good readers, avid readers. And so I'm going to read this book in its entirety myself, just because I want to know the ins and outs and the depths of her story. But just from what I've been able to see from the synopsis, there's so much to be said about your life that you've shared in your book. So right now, let's talk to you, Terrinee Gundy, as the mom, the family woman. You have a son and a daughter, and you have this book.
Yes.
But how much of your past have you shared with your two children? Like I mean, this is a gritty past, but from a mother's perspective, I know how much of my mom's past she shared with me, and I thank God that she did. But how much of your past have you shared with your kids?
I've shared it in its entirety.
Wow.
And I've done more than that. That same tent that I was telling you about, I made my children come work the summers with my dad.
Wow.
To have the same experience.
Wow.
Yeah. Not just because I wanted them to know my story, but I also wanted them to have the same appreciation and gratitude for the community.
Yes, ma'am.
And the people.
Yes, ma'am.
Who built this family. So
yes, ma'am.
They're an extension of our family legacy, but our family legacy started in 32209.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I wanted to make sure that they had proper respect and gratitude for that community.
Wow. Wow. And so what would you say? And that, I mean, first of all, that is to be commended. I feel like more of our parents do need to make it a point. Sometimes we shield our kids from the truths of our upbringings and some of the things that we've overcame, but you definitely aren't one of those people. And so hats off to you. And I know that your kids are appreciative of that because of your own way of I guess introducing them to what you came from and where you came from, to know who you become, and for them to be able to celebrate you even more. But how would you say your past has made you better as a parent?
I think the thing that made me the best parent, or I guess my upbringing, is that I tried to find ways to impart life skills on my kids without the trauma.
Right, right.
So there was so many things that I learned and survived that made me better and made me the woman that I am. But it came with a lot of chaos and trauma and violence.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I focused really hard on how do I still impart those same lessons, because they were valuable or actually invaluable to me. How do I impart those same lessons to my children minus the trauma and the chaos?
Yes, ma'am. Man, y'all listen. These are some jewels that she's dropping, and I'm glad that she's been able to share some of her time with us. Listen, guys, this is a great book. I'm just knowing I haven't read it in its entirety yet, but I'm looking forward to it. the journey that she has been on and is still on. First of all, congratulations to you in your civil service and your love that you've shown even through your professional journey for what you're able to do as a judge, as a civil servant, as a servant of the community, not only from the city of Jacksonville, but to the United States of America as a judge, and your professional journey, your journey as a woman, the daughter of a junkie, but the love story that has come out of that. Thank you so much for sharing your testimony.
You're gonna make me emotional.
Listen, hey, listen, Miss Gundy, Judge Gundy. I'm a firm believer in giving people their flowers while they can smell them, and to know that you have made it a point to dedicate your life to serving the community, despite how your life and the cards in your life were dealt to you many times, not just as a Black woman, but as African Americans. All of us.
You know what we say about that, right?
What's that?
I just played a bad hand better.
You did. You did. No, but and we can. I think we both can laugh about that because of where we've been. And I guess I'm gonna be a little selfish right now and give my own testimonial of how I know, like, as an African American man, like, I came from a broken home, and my mom and dad, weren't together at some point in my life, but at the same time, my mom and dad didn't allow my life, just as my siblings, they didn't allow us to just go down the drain. That my mom and dad definitely pushed for us to have an amazing life with what they had given us, and they still push forward to make the life that we were able to live the best that they possibly could. And they did a good job. I mean, I'm a Black male from the north side of Jacksonville, but I was able to, graduate from, Douglas Anderson School of the Arts, and man, my career as a musician, producer, and all that great stuff. I mean, I was able to do some amazing things, and here I am on Impact, still striving to make an impact based on the life
that's what I'm trying to tell you. You can win with a bad hand.
Yes, you can
win with a bad hand.
Come on, y'all. Listen, this is the Honorable Judge Terrinee Gundy. She's here with us live on Impact. And before she leaves, guys, I want to give her a huge shout out on social media, guys. Please follow her on IG, The Daughter of a Junkie. Also, make sure you visit her website, The Daughter of a Junkie, JUNKIE.com. Man, her book is out. The Daughter of a Junkie, yes. The love story, guys. It's not just a daughter of a junkie, but it's the love story that she has painted this thing to be in her own life. And we're so excited about her journey.
I will be back on Friday. I just left. I was there on Sunday at the Ritz Theater with Melanie Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
I will be back this Friday. So everybody come out to Be in Fun Art Center.
Okay.
It's on Myrtle Ave.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
Coming back home.
Yes,
for
ma'am.
A book signing. Yes, I insisted that it was on Myrtle Ave.
Man, come on. Right in the heart of the North Side. Y'all listen. This has been such a pleasure of mine. Thank you, Ms. Terrinee Gundy, for your time speaking with us here on Impact.
And I thank you for not just sharing, but having the courage to share with me, because that's uncomfortable sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Those vulnerable and what I like to call transparent moments are sometimes what we have to be in order to do the ultimate service and give back to others, to let them know that no matter where you are in life, no matter what decisions you've made, sometimes we all, not only just our past, but sometimes we put ourselves in certain places, just like our parents experienced life, made their own set of decisions. But guess what? We all get second chances. We all get a second chance at life, even if you might have been a good kid, but you might not, like you said, you might not have been dealt the best hands, and you're not out robbing and stealing and killing people, but at the same time, life just wasn't dealt to you in a good way. But man, there are always what we call the graves in the garden, but you can be a rose that comes out of that garden and be able to shed light on life for someone else. So thank you so much, Miss Gundy, and thank you for your service to this country, to the community, to the city of Atlanta. And guys, please make sure that you follow Miss Gundy, the daughter of a junkie, on IG. Make sure you, again, go to a website, www.thedaughterofajunkie.com, and you go ahead and reach out and man, purchase her book, man, follow her and be a part of the community that she's building, so that you can be able to, man, have that. She is a role model. Our young daughters and our nieces and our nephews and our sons need role models that look just like us. And for those of us those of our listeners who aren't African American, it just, our youth need someone to look up to. Our women needs of all ages and all ethnicities need someone to look up to know that they can too, no matter what their background, socioeconomic background, whatever. You have someone to look to know that no matter where you start, it's not about where you start, but where you finish. So on behalf of the Florida Star, WCGL 94.7 FM, thank you for tuning in to Impact. And y'all know this has been Will Neal, as I am week in and week out. Man, just here to highlight those who are striving and are aiming and executing at making a difference in our community, making an impact. So until next time, take care, and most of all, God bless.